It's a deep, deep honor to be able to speak to you today about something I'm so passionate about. I'm going to talk about our foundation, which we've created in the last year, though it's been a work undergoing for a while, and the work we're doing with historic photography. But before I get into the foundation, let me back up to where our story with this began a little bit. 5 years ago, my brother Don and I had the opportunity to buy Flickr. Yahoo had cratered, it was in ashes, Verizon had bought the whole thing, and suddenly they were offering to sell us Flickr. We leapt at the opportunity, very scary, but a huge opportunity for our business. We would do it again, hopefully with more knowledge. But it's been transformational for us. Shortly after we bought Flickr, the new leadership inside Verizon over the Yahoo enterprise went to the Wall Street Journal and said that they should never have sold Flickr, and not for the reasons you think. Said it was too much work, too much distraction, it wasn't worth it, they should have just deleted all of Flickr. It wasn't worth saving, according to them. I can't disagree more. I think Flickr is truly unique and special. When Flickr was created and gained all of that traction and notoriety, it quickly became the most significant collection of photography that humans have ever put together. Tens of billions of photos uploaded by hundreds of millions of photographers around the world. It's truly a staggering size. Nowadays, there are a tiny handful of businesses who probably have a bigger corpus of photos, but our community and our structure of this corpus of photos make it especially unique. Shortly after that Wall Street Journal article, I got a very unexpected call from the Library of Congress here in the United States. They were worried about the future of Flickr. They'd seen the news, and they viewed Flickr the way we did, as truly priceless and irreplaceable. In addition to that, they had a project that they'd been working on for a decade on Flickr. The Library of Congress, the Smithsonian, the British Library, National Archives of Ireland, and 100 other galleries, libraries, archives, and museums had uploaded more than 10 million historic photographs to share with humanity. Photos that are in the public domain going all the way back to the very earliest photos ever taken. And those were on Flickr, and they were worried about potentially losing them and all of the work they'd put in. I thought that was super cool. I still think it's super cool. So my initial question to them was, do we still have a role to play in this? Flickr's been mismanaged. The team that helped create the Flickr Commons with these institutions got laid off 6 months after the project began. That was Yahoo for you. So I asked them, do we still belong in this conversation, or do we maybe miss that window? Did it close? And the answer was a very emphatic, yes, please help us. The Smithsonian has their own collections online. They've spent a lot of really well-spent money building this amazing collection of digital experiences for more than 1 million objects. And they get about this much engagement on it, in their own words. When it's on Flickr, they can't even express how much engagement they get. Our community engages, more eyeballs around the world experience it, often more than they're getting in their physical locations. So excellent, we're in. I'm super excited, except they had one big concern. The Library of Congress was founded in 1800. They're a 223-year-old institution. They think in terms of centuries and civilizations. They really don't care if you won the App of the Year award or you're the new VC-funded rocket ship. They have limited time and resources to work on these projects. They want to know it will last, that it will matter. So we were pretty excited about explaining that to them as a business. We explained to them the concept of certified evergreen. We explained that we're in a community with more than 30 100-year-old businesses. It was especially fun to explain that one of those businesses we're friends with is older than they are because they're older than the United States is. I think we're going to hear a little bit more about that today. The Library of Congress was decently impressed. But as we started talking about this, and we told them we hope we'll be here for 100 years, we're working to be here for 100 years, we're learning how to be here for 100 years, we evolved a little bit and we thought, why don't we plan to be here for 100 years? Not plan for this decade, but actually start writing a plan for 100 years. And something interesting happened as we started thinking about 100 years. We started thinking forward about where will we be in 100 years, and Dave gave a great demonstration of how much things are going to change. So we started thinking about the tens of billions of photos that are already on Flickr. In 100 years, those will be those historic photos. Long before 100 years, when Spikeball is the most popular game on the planet. This photo, right? This photo taken by Chris Reuter of the very first Spikeball tournament and uploaded to his Flickr account many, many years ago will be incredibly historically significant. I kind of think it already is. But we start thinking about Flickr and those tens of billions as a living archive, a museum in the making that today will add millions more photos as people upload them. So this is an exciting, intoxicating, big idea. You know, we're talking about no longer just talking about tens of millions of photos, we're talking about tens of billions of photos, and eventually hundreds of billions of photos, and more than 100 years. Well, unfortunately, it turns out that there hasn't been, well, nearly enough, and maybe not any, work really done to set out and build a 100-year plan right from the beginning of an idea. 30 businesses here or in our community are more than 100 years old, but I suspect most of them got that way very gradually, right? Surviving the first few years, hopefully starting to think in decades. We're kind of at that stage now as a 20-year-old business. We're nowhere close to 100 years. So we set out to try and figure out, how do you even do this? We started with the experts we know. Several of those businesses we've spoken to kind of pick their brain and their experience. I'd love to speak to the rest of the 30. We've talked with the Tugboat team, talked with Dave and others thinking about this kind of long-term thinking. We met with the Long Now Foundation, which some of you are familiar with, a nonprofit dedicated to truly long-term thinking. We've also been fortunate enough to run almost a dozen in-person 100-year planning sessions with partnerships and communities. We ran one with the University of Edinburgh in Scotland. We've run one with the Oxford Internet Institute. And I'd love to stand here and say we have our 100-year plan baked and we know how to do it, and if you want one, come talk to me, but we're not there yet. I would love to talk to more of you as we get there. We are working on the earliest frameworks of this. In the meantime, we are hard at work with beginning our mission. We felt that in order to make sure that this living archive lasts 100 years, it needs to be insulated from the most common failures that might afflict it. And the most common would be us mismanaging our business and maybe screwing that up. So we built a 501c truly independent nonprofit to shepherd this vision. We have an amazing team already hired, an executive director and a board, and experts and advisors. We're undergoing projects right now with Wikipedia and the Internet Archive. We are underway, but we're less than 1% of the way to 100 years. I'm really, really excited about where we're going. I cannot wait to be back here in, let's call it 20 years and show you the 20% instead of the 1% and our 100-year plan at that point in time. But I'm really deeply honored to have given you a very quick glimpse of what we're working on. Thank you.